Number 10. Isaac Baruch. Isaac Baruch is the witness from all the way back in the beginning days of the trial. While his testimony itself isn't weird, he certainly is, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. He and Johnny Depp met back when they were teenagers, and he was Johnny and Amber's neighbor. The Pirates of the Caribbean actor had been helping Isaac financially for quite some time, allowing him to stay in Depp's penthouse rent-free and giving him about $100,000. Isaac is an artist, and he certainly acts like it too, with all the theatrics and funny ways of speaking there is. He very theatrically described his relationship with Depp and just how indebted he is to the man. Felt very Shakespearean. It was all very sweet, but also a little flamboyant and funny. He also stated that while he lived near the couple, he heard fights going on. Amber also came to him and said that Johnny had thrown a plate at her, although he admits that he didn't see any bruising on her face. He then laughed on the stand when Amber's lawyer asked him about his knowledge of makeup and if he were able to tell if Amber had covered her bruises. Quote, "I'm looking at a cheek, I'm looking at her chin, I'm looking at the other side of her face, I'm looking at the whole thing, and I don't see anything." Number 9. Jennifer Howell. While not weird herself, Jennifer Howell gave some extremely odd and cryptic words to the court when she contradicted another key witness of Amber Heard's. Jennifer had employed Amber's sister, Whitney Henriquez, and testified briefly in court. Jennifer testified that she sent an email back in the 2020 libel trial begging her to tell the truth. Although in the libel trial this evidence was pretty much dismissed, in this trial she has given some insight into what exactly that means. She says that Whitney had confided in her that Amber was the aggressor in the fight, and apparently Whitney thought that Amber was, quote, going to kill Johnny. She also directly contradicted the severed finger story, stating that Whitney, Amber's sister, had told her that Amber had indeed cut off Johnny's finger during their explosive fight in Australia, and not that he had cut it himself as Amber's team is proposing. Interestingly, Jennifer's testimony was severely limited again by the judge, but it directly contradicts what Amber has stated as fact. Number 8. Starling Jenkins. Again, while not weird himself, the testimony he gave was a little odd. Starling is a longtime member of Johnny Depp's security staff, and he testified that the morning after Amber's 30th birthday, he was informed by Amber that she, quote, got into a fight with Johnny last night. He said that she threw his phone, wallet, credit cards, and passport over the balcony and onto the streets below. Starling then said that he used the Find My iPhone program to track down Depp's phone to Skid Row, a neighborhood known for its homeless population, which was not far from Johnny and Amber's apartment building. Starling then said he approached a homeless man about the phone who was, quote, honest and returned it. I gave him a reward for it. $420, chicken tacos, chips, apples, and Fiji water. I guess all's well that ends well? Number 7. The clinical psychologist. Okay, this one's a two-parter because it's honestly so frustrating with just how many yes men are involved in this case. Dr. Shannon Curry, a forensic clinical psychologist who evaluated Heard for 12 hours in December over 2 days, testified in court that Heard did not have PTSD and appeared to be, quote, grossly exaggerating symptoms. The result of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported two diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. Curry said she concluded that Heard had, quote, a very sophisticated way of minimizing any personal problems while having a lot of inner hostility and externalizing blame. What I don't understand about this is why any clinical psychologist would feel at all comfortable diagnosing anyone with anything after only speaking with them for 12 hours. Typically, psychologists have to work with patients for weeks or even up to months before they are sure of any presence of any mental illness of any kind. Number 6. The clinical and forensic psychologist. Now we've got Dr. Don Hughes, another clinical psychologist who basically testifies to the exact opposite of what Dr. Shannon Curry said. She diagnosed Heard with PTSD, quote, based on intimate partner violence suffered at Depp's hands. She based this on 29 hours worth of clinical interviews with Heard, as well as her reviews of court transcripts, notes taken by Heard's previous therapists, interviews with therapists, and other records. Dr. Hughes believes the level of control and surveillance Depp had over Heard's life was a marker of intimate partner violence, which made it harder for Heard to leave the relationship. Quote, even though she yelled and hit him and said some terrible things to him, it was never able to shift the balance of power in the relationship. I figured psychologists would have a bit more decorum before diagnosing anything. It just feels weird. And this doctor only spent 29 hours with Amber, which I guess is marginally better than the 12 hours Dr. Curry had, but still, something's fishy. Number 5. Tracey Jacobs. Tracey Jacobs was Johnny Depp's agent for 30 years until the actor terminated their contract in 2016. She said in a pre-recorded recorded deposition shown during the trial that Johnny once asked her to kill a version of the 2018 film London Fields because it had a scene where Amber was nude in it. She said Depp sent her a series of angry all-caps emails instructing her to shut down the film. Quote, "It is in Amber's contract that there will be no nudity and her agents are weak and insipid. Will you please call these motherfuckers and you and Jake get on this immediately. It must be shut down or I will sue them 18 ways from fucking Sunday. These people are nobodies in this business and they should be made to understand that we will ruin them instantly." If Amber willingly did the nude scene, it's so weird that Johnny would be so up in arms about it unless he was extremely defensive of their relationship. Number 4, Kate Moss. Okay, this one is more so fascinating than weird, I'd say. Model Kate Moss, who dated Depp between 1994 and 1998, testified that Depp never pushed her down a flight of stairs. Earlier in the trial, during Heard's testimony, she referred to an unverified rumor that Depp once pushed Moss down the stairs. Moss has never publicly accused Depp of misconduct. Moss said that she slipped and that Depp then tended to her. Quote, "I screamed because I didn't know what had happened to me and I was in pain, and he came running back to help me and carried me to my room and got me medical attention." Kate said she slipped while the two were at a resort in Jamaica while they were dating. Quote, "We were leaving the room and Johnny left the room before I did, and there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room I slid down the stairs and hurt my back." Number 3, Ben King. Not weird himself, but the moment he witnessed went viral for just how dumb it was. Johnny Depp's house manager endured being asked a question by Amber's lawyer, who then appeared to object to his own question. King took the stand and said he heard, quote, "hysterical sobbing" as he entered the house in Australia in March 2015. He said he saw Depp's doctor, Dr. David Kipper, rummaging through the bin looking for Depp's severed finger. Eventually, King found the finger and put it on ice. Heard's lawyer, Ben Rottenborn, asked King a question, but Depp's lawyer shot it down with an objection. Rottenborn then tried to rephrase the question, quote, "You don't know what could cause damage to Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th, correct?" Rottenborn then said, quote, "Objection, hearsay," before the judge stated, quote, "Wait, you asked the question," to which the clearly frazzled Rottenborn said, quote, "Oh, okay." Number 2, Dr. David Spiegel. Okay, yeah, this guy is just weird. While on the stand, Dr. Spiegel stated, quote, "I've only seen him interact with people in interviews, when he wasn't in movies." To which Johnny's attorney responded, quote, "Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Did you look at that one while you were looking at his cognitive processing speed?" Instead of answering immediately, a confused Spiegel began smacking his lips and opening and closing his mouth while rubbing his chin. He then eventually said, quote, "Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?" Depp shook his head in bewilderment while observing the interaction in court. Spiegel was directed to answer the question and told the court that he had not seen any of the projects mentioned by the actor's legal team. So freaking weird. Number 1, Alejandro Romero. Alejandro Romero is kind of a beast. He's a doorman at the Eastern Columbia building and became extremely notable for his behavior in a pre-recorded video that was shown to the court where he testifies that he was asked to check for an intruder, but he believes the scratching at the door which had startled them was just a dog. But throughout the whole video, he was vaping and blowing the fattest clouds at the camera. At times, the testimony had the jury and Depp laughing at just how ludicrous it all was.
Coming in at number 10, when Depp's sister testified that the actor swore to never repeat domestic violence after their mother was physically aggressive towards them. Christi Dombrowski, Depp's older sister by 3 years, was the first witness to testify in the defamation trial. When she took the stand, she spoke about their experience as children growing up with their mother, whom she described as a high-strung, nervous, and often angry person. She said that when we were older, we decided that once we had our own home, we were never going to repeat in our own home anything similar to our childhood. And coming in at number 9, when Amber Heard's ex-assistant said that the actress verbally harassed her on multiple occasions. Kate James, who worked as Amber Heard's personal assistant for 3 years between 2012 to 2015, testified via video in a recorded deposition that Heard screamed at her when she tried to negotiate her salary of $50,000 per year, which is half of what she would normally make as a full-time celebrity personal assistant, saying that she leapt out of her chair and put her face approximately 4 inches from my face, spitting in my face, saying how dare she ask for the salary that she's asking for. James said that Heard also regularly screamed at her over the phone and would send a barrage of horrible text messages to her, often in the early morning hours between 2 to 4 a.m. Number 8, when Kate Moss testified that Depp, her ex-boyfriend, never pushed her down a flight of stairs. British model Kate Moss, who dated Depp between 1994 and 1998, testified that he never pushed her down a flight of stairs. Earlier in the trial, during Heard's testimony, she referred to an unverified rumor that Depp once pushed Moss down the stairs. Although Moss has never publicly accused Depp of misconduct, Moss then crushed those rumors by testifying to what really happened while the two were staying in a resort in Jamaica, saying that she in fact slipped down the stairs and Depp tended to her, saying that she screamed because she didn't know what was happening to her and Depp carried her to the room and got her medical attention. Number 7. When Depp's manager said the actor missed out on a $22 million payday for Pirates of the Caribbean 6 due to the catastrophic allegations made by Heard. While testifying remotely, Jack Wiggum, Depp's talent manager, and Disney's president of production Sean Bailey and Pirates of the Caribbean producer Jerry Bruckheimer verbally sealed a deal around 2016 to pay Depp $22.5 million for the 6th film in the franchise. However, Wiggum was never able to revive the deal following Heard's allegations in 2018 in her Washington Post op-ed, which she detailed her experience with domestic abuse. Even though Depp himself was never named in the article, Wiggum testified that since the fall of 2018, Depp has been relegated to roles in lower-paying independent movies and hasn't filmed a movie since 2020. Number 6. When the clinical psychologist who evaluated Heard said she was aggressively exaggerating her symptoms of PTSD. Dr. Shannon Curry, a forensic clinical psychologist who evaluated Heard for over 12 hours in 2 days in December, testified in court that Heard did not have PTSD and appeared to be grossly exaggerating her symptoms. The result of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. Curry concluded that Heard had a very sophisticated way of minimizing any personal problems while having a lot of inner hostility and externalizing blame. Number 5. When Depp's private doctor described what happened the night his finger was severed. Dr. David Kipper, Depp's private doctor, described his experience on the night the actor's finger was severed. The doctor was saying, on an island in Australia on March 7, 2015. Depp sent Dr. Kipper a text that night saying his finger was severed, according to the record shown in court. When Dr. Kipper arrived, he treated the wound and took him to the emergency room. Depp then texted him several days later, again blaming himself for the incident. But later in the trial, when Depp took to the stand, the actor testified that during a heated argument, Heard threw 2 bottles at him, with one making contact with his little finger and slicing it off. Depp said that he initially lied about how the tip of his right middle finger was cut off rather than telling him that Heard threw a bottle at him, saying on the stand that he didn't want her to get in trouble. Number 4. When Heard testified about the alleged harassment campaign against her and the various death threats that she received as a result. Heard told jurors that a harassment campaign waged against her by Depp has left her humiliated and scarred for life from multiple death threats. Heard was the final witness in the 6-week libel trial Depp brought against his wife. She said that Depp had been fixated on revenge ever since she filed for divorce and obtained the restraining order against him, testifying that, quote, Johnny promised he'd ruin her life, her career, and take her life from her. She noted the social media campaigns against her and the mockery she has received while testifying about her assault, as well as the overwhelming support for Depp in the courtroom, stating that she just wants him to leave her alone and that he has taken enough of my voice, and that she has the right to tell her story. 3. When Depp countered Heard's testimony, calling it unimaginably brutal, cruel, and all false. Johnny Depp returned to the stand during the 6-week and final week of his defamation trial against Heard, refuting her testimony that she attacked her during their honeymoon in 2015. Following Heard's testimony that Depp slammed her against the wall and she feared he would kill her, Depp testified that it was actually her who attacked him, alleging that she gave him a black eye. His defense then produced photos of the former couple with waitstaff that showed Depp with an injured eye. The actor also accused Heard of abusing her sister, Whitney Henriquez, saying that he has certainly seen Heard push her around. He then went on to call Heard's testimony unimaginably brutal, cruel, and all false, calling her allegations ridiculous, humiliating, and savage, addressing the court, saying that no matter what happens, I did tell the truth, and that I've spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back reluctantly for 6 years. Number 2. When Depp's former girlfriend Ellen Barkin testified that he once threw a wine bottle in her direction. In a recorded deposition, Ellen Barkin, who dated Depp for less than a year in 1994, said the actor was jealous and controlling during their relationship. Most shockingly, when the two were filming Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in 1997, Barkin described an incident where Depp threw a wine bottle in her direction during a heated argument between Depp and his friends. And coming in at number 1, when the ACLU said that Heard only donated $1.3 million of the $3.5 million she pledged to the organization from her divorce settlement. Terrence Doherty, the general counsel and chief operating officer of the ACLU, said in a recorded deposition that the organization received 4 donations from Heard, which totaled $1.3 million. However, when Depp and Heard reached a divorce settlement in 2016, the actress announced that she would donate the entirety of her $7 million divorce settlement to charity, saying that the money would be split between 2 organizations, the American Civil Liberties Union and the Children's Hospital Los Angeles, which meant the ACLU should have received $3.5 million. But it turns out only one of those payments from Heard was actually from her directly, a payment of $350,000 back in August of 2016. The other payments were from Depp and from a fund set up by Elon Musk. Later in the trial, when Heard took to the stand, the actress said that she still planned to donate all the money she promised, claiming it was the trial, in fact, that was stalling her payments.
One of the more shocking recent moments from the trial was when Amber Heard took the stand and mentioned Kate Moss, giving Depp's team the opportunity to call Moss to the stand as a witness. So who is Kate Moss? She is a British supermodel who dated Johnny Depp from 1994 to 1997. Amber mentioned her in her testimony when talking about a situation between Johnny and her sister, alleging that Depp had pushed Kate Moss down the stairs while on a vacation in Jamaica. This was also when she admitted in testimony to having become physical with Depp for the first time, saying it was in an attempt to defend her sister. She did this to further try and paint Depp as the villain of the story, but this decision would prove to be a mistake as Kate Moss took the stand as a witness. Kate connected to the trial by video, being in Gloucestershire, England. As Johnny Depp's lawyer prepared to ask her questions, viewers around the world held their breath, waiting to see what new information this might reveal, and whether or not there was any truth to the story of the stairs. Kate Moss appeared well-dressed and professional in a white shirt and dark blazer, sitting up straight, clearly taking her role as witness very seriously. Depp's lawyer wasted no time in getting right to the point, first having Moss confirm her past romantic relationship with Depp. He then moves right into the trip to Jamaica, asking Kate for her explanation of just what had happened there. Knowing exactly which situation they were referring to, Kate got straight to the point. She explains how they were exiting their room. Apparently it had just been a rainstorm, so when Moss stepped outside the door to their room, she slipped on the wet ground, falling down the stairs. She states that she hurt her back and had let out a scream because she had been so shocked and confused about the fall which had happened so fast. She goes on to say that Depp immediately came running back to help her, even picking her up and carrying her to her room and going to get her medical attention. This explanation of events clearly paints Johnny in a very positive light as an attentive boyfriend and not someone who would ever purposefully push anyone down a set of stairs. When Depp's lawyer asked Kate if Johnny had pushed her, she replied with a simple and confident no, leaving no room for speculation or questioning. He then asks if Depp had ever pushed her down any set of stairs in different locations or situations. She says, "No, he never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs." There seems to be no way to question the truth of that. She even seems to laugh at the end of her statement, perhaps being amused at the very suggestion that Johnny would ever do anything like that. And with that, the questioning ended after just 3 minutes, Amber's side not choosing to cross-examine her, maybe realizing just how much they had backed themselves into a corner in just a few minutes. As if she didn't, Moss likely never would have been on the stand to tell the truth about what happened between her and Johnny Depp. These quick statements may be enough to convince many viewers and potentially even the jury of the reality of Johnny's character, not as the villain of this story, but instead the victim. Kate Moss's confident and straightforward answers seem to paint a clear picture that she's quite certain of. It feels as though there was no way to question that what she said was true, based on her candid delivery and calm, collected responses. So what does this mean for the trial? Well, it is a clear step in the right direction for Depp's team, as a previous romantic partner stating that Johnny had never been abusive and had apparently been very attentive and caring is very strong evidence towards Johnny's side. It also throws more speculation towards Amber's testimonies and opinions, as she attempted to use a false scenario to justify her fear towards Johnny and try to make others view him negatively. Public opinion seems to lean strongly towards Johnny, as many attentive watchers have accused Amber of lying and manipulation, both in her relationship with Depp and throughout the trial. It seems as though Amber realizes how deep the hole is that she's digging for herself. Throughout her testimony and the entirety of the trial, she continues to try harder and harder to win the sympathy of both the jury and the audience. She often turns her head to look directly at the jury when answering questions, even wearing hairstyles that obscure the side of her face not directed towards them. She knows that the jury are the people she has to convince, so most viewers say she seems to be desperately trying to put on a show, whether it be fake tears, rehearsed body language, or unnecessary and rambling answers. Her actions only go further to convince people on social media that she is continuing to lie and manipulate those around her. Even more bizarre moments of Amber's have been pointed out throughout the duration of the trial, like backtracking and changing her answers, copying Depp's clothes, and seeming to quickly change emotions when she thinks the cameras aren't watching her anymore. All of this evidence seems to be stacking up to point accusing fingers at her and her actions, and the Kate Moss testimony seems to have been the icing on the cake. Though happening very recently, people have already swarmed to social media to discuss Kate Moss's statements and make angry comments about Amber Heard. People have tweeted calling her a liar, saying it's impossible anyone could still continue to believe Amber after this, and much more. Heard's lawyers have been hard-pressed to find a way to push the favor towards their side, but are struggling to do so in light of the facts and evidence that have been presented. As it stands, it seems that things are only going to continue to sway in the direction of Depp being the true victim of this relationship. But we can only wait and see as things develop,